in the Democratic Party. It's also quite a few power elites within the Republican Party who have for years and for decades been building up these international institutions hand in hand with their Democratic counterparts. So that's my comment on that, is keep in mind the big picture and the big power players in the international banking elite that have been pulling the strings for a long time, and they want the same thing.
The two-headed one-party system taking us down the road to serfdom, funded and controlled by the Federal Reserve System and the central banks. And I encourage our listeners to also visit suethefed.com and find out a little bit more about some class action suits that are in the workings to hopefully address the Federal Reserve through class action suits in court and put an end to the banksters. And again, Campaign for Liberty, Ron and Rand Paul's Audit the Fed bill. We have time for two quick questions, and then I'm going to make some closing comments and get a last remark from Stuart and Kirk.
Kirk, this would be directed to you, sort of a two-part. First, how high do you think the gas prices will go? And secondly, it appears that metals have been moving a bit sideways for the last month. What would be some of those causes?
Causes are when metals move sideways and the fundamentals are still very intact and actually getting worse, which would make them go higher and higher and higher, is generally due to the futures market. People just locking in some profits, an overbought situation. But by no means does that mean that the bull market is over. The best is still yet to come for that particular investment class as things progressively get worse. And then what was the second part of that question?
Oh, he asked you what the second part of that question was.
Well, it was the gas prices, and then why are metals moving sideways?
The gas prices, I mean, I just paid $3.80 this morning for unleaded. And, you know, as tensions continue to erupt in the Middle East, you know, I think you're going to be seeing gas prices go higher and higher and higher. I think we'll see $5 by this summer, and in a super and hyperinflation, literally the sky's the limit. But I think in the short term, you could see gas at $5.
I'd also like to comment, with all due respect to our guest's question, when you really take a look at the graphs and charts, which you could find at kitco.com, gold and silver are by no means moving sideways. And I guess it depends, you know, what time frame you're looking at. In the short term, sure, it could go sideways or down or up. But again, over the last 9 years, silver's up over 700%, gold's up over 400%. We're in a raging bull market. It is on a major affluence trend. When I started buying gold in 2002, it was $2.80 an ounce. Silver was $4 and change. This is almost a straight line up like this, and along the way you have that massive volatility. So taking a close look at both gold and silver, it's on an absolute tear on the way up. One more question?
Yes, this is just for either one of the three of you. What happens if Japan wants to collect on their U.S. debt to try to rebuild the devastation that's just recently occurred?
Well, if that happens, the bottom starts to fall out of the dollar very quickly. I mean, because for them to do that, we don't have any money to pay them. We're going to have to start printing more and more money out of thin air, which is going to devalue our currency, cause U.S. treasuries to come down any further. By them collecting on it, what really means they're selling our U.S. treasuries on the open market, which is going to saturate the market with more supply. Supply and demand always comes into effect, and you will see the bottom start to fall out of the dollar, because they own $600 billion worth of our U.S. treasuries.
Thank you. I've got just a few important announcements I want to make, some things you might want to jot down. Then we'll have a closing comment from Kirk and a closing comment from Stuart. And this way we'll conclude at 9 o'clock as we scheduled. Thanks for participating in this conference. Sorry for the technical glitches. We're always trying to work on that. One of the things I want to mention is what I call a precious metals due diligence checklist. We hear a lot about gold and silver being the tool for the time. Stuart's talked about it, Dr. Elliott. You hear it all over the place. It is the tool for the time. Obviously, food and water is first. Gold and silver is critical for those of us who can acquire it. Guns and ammunition to protect all of those things and more. And Plan B, family discussion, some of the great information that both Kirk and Stuart provided earlier, jot some things down. Food and water, gold and silver, other barter items, guns and ammunition, neighborhood watch, ham radio, and the revitalization of our vets and law enforcement. As Stuart always says, the oath does not expire. And so, but on a due diligence checklist for precious metals, I would encourage you to jot a few of these things down for those that are getting educated on it. It's an unregulated industry, so buyer beware. You want to know that your metals firm has been around. The only report you can go to is the Better Business Bureau, whatever that's worth. Go there. Also, you want to take a look at who's grading these. Is it substandard companies, two guys in a garage, or is it the two most reputable grading firms? And Kirk can mention those firms, I forget the names of them. You want to make sure that you're getting the right paper to tangible ratios, because it's time to come out of the paper assets very quickly and very carefully, and we can assist you with commentary on that. But paper to tangible ratios, how much gold to silver, which ones are reportable and confiscatable, which ones aren't, which ones are good for barter, what are semi-numismatics and European fractionals and junk silver, storage options, the pros and cons of the four options you have, how do you get them in the IRA. All of these things are really, really important. And at AssetPreservationInstitute.org, we've got 72 points of a checklist before you purchase metals, and you can certainly visit Kirk's site at KirkElliottPhD.com. And of course also visit theoathkeepers.org. And that's the last comment I have before we turn it over to Kirk and then Stuart to close us out is visit our site at AssetPreservationInstitute.org. Send me any questions you have, any clarifications you have, and I will personally respond back to each and every email and direct them to the appropriate folks that might be able to answer your questions better than myself. And this way we can continue the dialogue. And we're going to hold these once a month, perhaps more often than that. And we'll be in Colorado for a convention on June 11th. Stay tuned for details. Closing comments from Dr. Kirk Elliott.
You know, these are certainly perilous times that we're living in. I love this call tonight. Man, you hear lots of problems all the time, but very rarely do you hear specific solutions to the crisis. And that's what we offered tonight, or at least attempted to. And so there's a lot more to talk about, but we have to make sure that our own ducks are in a row when we are going to need to not just help ourselves, but help others. Because this is going to get real nasty, and we need to have our arrows pointed out rather than just in if we want to change our society. You do that by protecting your finances. Like John said, make sure that your paper to tangible asset ratio is in check. 50% tangible assets, 50% paper at minimum. Anything less than that, you're underprepared. Anything over than that, you're actually participating in a huge bull market, and you will thrive. So, just wanted to leave you with that. This is very perilous times. We need to do what we need to do. Our window of opportunity is closing quickly. And so I urge you to listen to what John said, what Stuart said, and what I said tonight, because there are solutions out there that we don't have to keep our head in the sand and just hope. We can actually go out there and do and take action and be bold and make a difference right now.
Thank you, Kirk. Stuart, your closing comments, please.
Just that we need to really focus on the essentials. There's a lot of things going on out there, and a lot of folks are scrambling for a silver bullet, trying to find the one thing, whether it's impeachment or a constitutional convention, which would be a disaster, by the way. They're looking for a silver bullet. It's not going to be that easy. What we have to do is get back to revitalizing sound money, revitalizing our state militias, revitalizing the concept of sovereign citizens who are self-reliant in strong communities at our state levels. That's how we're going to weather this storm, and also that's what the founders expected us to be anyway. And so, whether you think this is all a bunch of baloney or whatever your thoughts are, we're all supposed to be squared away in sovereign states already. We're supposed to already be doing that. So we'll just get back to their intentions. But I think the handwriting is on the wall. It's just a matter of time. And, the powers that be might be able to string it out for another year or two. I have no idea. So, but I'm preparing for a worst case scenario, which means that we should be squared away by the end of this year. That's what I'm thinking. And it certainly couldn't hurt. It doesn't hurt you to have food storage. Stuff lasts 30 friggin' years. Go get it. And at the end of 30 years, if you don't need it in 30 years' time, then give it away to charity. But get yourself squared away. It used to be this country had 3 years of grain reserve for its people in the Cold War. Now we have nothing. And so it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we have our own grain reserves, us as individuals and communities. And but when it comes to preparedness, I think survivalblog.com is probably your best single resource. Go there. It's searchable. He has recommended books you can read. He's written books himself. Lots of articles on there by contributors. Very, very good resource when it comes to preparing. But look, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. But focus on food storage. Focus on having a way, bug-out bags and a way to shelter yourself. Japanese are learning this lesson right now. A lot of them flee their homes and they have nothing. They're sleeping under the stars and freezing. So you should have a good sleeping bag and a tent or at least a poncho and know how to make a shelter. And then have some food that you've stored away in a bag that you can take with you. Some freeze-dried meals. Yeah. So get yourself squared away for the very worst case scenario and start with the most important stuff first and then build up. And then after you've done that, if you have money left over, then certainly go and follow the advice about bartering goods and gold and silver, etc. Okay.
Thank you. My closing comments are plan. Please visit all the sites and resources that all of us have provided and act. Hope and pray for the best, but as Stuart said, plan for the worst. And I'm going to close with the last question that really sums it all up, folks. Great question. Someone asked, what is to be gained by the orchestration of this collapse, referencing the Bilderbergers and the Trilateral and the Illuminati, CFR, and all this stuff? And the answer, in my opinion, is I have to understand what their stated goals are. And it's a one-world government, a one-world military, a one-world justice system, a one-world currency, so that they can have total planetary domination and control, which is what they seek. They already have all the money. And the reason they want to do all that is for the end goal, and that is to reduce the world's population significantly. And so what they have to gain is their stated goal. They want to eliminate most of us, and it's just a power trip by a bunch of insane men that's been passed down by the centuries. And that's my opinion. And so we hope and pray for the best, plan for the worst. We provided some great resources here today. Please visit all those sites. And lastly, if you want a direct communication, my personal email address is jychambers@msn.com. And you can call us at 727-329-0048. Visit oathkeepers.org, assetpreservationinstitute.org, and Kirk Elliott, PhD.com. And we'll remain connected. Till next time, I want to thank Stuart Rhodes and Kirk Elliott and Larry Schooler and all of you for joining us today. Be smart, stay safe, and get busy, my friends. God bless us all. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.